Well, good morning and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble, crazy host, David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I just wanted to get on here and, got my hair all wet and stringy and dripping. Hi, Michelle, Doug, how are you? 40 minutes? Okay, 10 o'clock. I was trying to pick a time when nobody else was on. And, I know it's 4:20 somewhere. So I'm like, I'm here to share a bowl. And, whether it be wisdom or not, I don't know, but share a couple of thoughts. I need a new lighter. So I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. With that thought, hold on. Hey, Deborah, how are you? Much love back to everybody. Elderberry, Michelle, I don't think anybody, and Doug, I didn't say hey to y'all. I need a lighter. So, today is a Monday, hey, project, and was out doing some stuff, and some friends came by for their monthly, checkup with me to make sure I'm still alive and kicking. I'm alive and kicking. Me and Duggar spent some time outside playing kickball this evening, to keep me healthy and to keep him, from going bonkers. But I had to pick out a new lighter here for my 20. But anyway, we're a minute or two late, but we can still all share. I got the fan on. It's warm down here in South Georgia, let me tell you. And the humidity is just not necessarily astronomical, but it doesn't seem to be buffering on my end, but that don't mean it ain't buffering on your end. But anyway, I thought about this a couple of days ago and the subject, and I was like, the mulberries are in right now, and my hands were literally blue from the mulberries. So the title of this video is When It's Time, Mulberry Blue. And that was because my hands were full of mulberries yesterday. Excuse me. And from picking mulberries because it was time. And I was like, well, there's some other things I'd like to do, but no, when it's time, it's time. So there are things in the universe that it ain't just about picking mulberries, but you'll find yourself in situations where you go, well, it must just be time, you know. And there are those of us who have the time to be able to take the time. I know there's going to be a lot of these little twisties with the word time, but so the mulberries are ready and it's time, because if I don't go out and pick them, then they're going to all end up on the ground and they're all going to, and I won't get any. So if I want the fruits of what's creator is giving me, when it's time, it's time. So I could go off and do something else. Could have picked another project, or I could pick mulberries because it's time. Okay. So sometimes in the universe, there are things that come up to us and it's just time to do them. We don't want to, we can kick and scream, um, you know, uh, and there's all kinds of things that it could be time for: losing a friend, a tire blowing out, a bunch of stuff, right? And it could be that, for those folks who are, um, kind of sort of riding them waves, as I'm always talking about, and they get in them lows and see that next wave coming and they go, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And it might be that it's just time to hang on. Now, I don't mean that in some kind of dejected or downward way for anyone, because I've been riding this inner tube for, 68 years. And let me tell you, it's like, Alrighty then, okay. So, anyway, Deborah, how are you? Betty Adams, how are you? New here. Need friends, watch many vids. Felt like you're talking to me. Sorry to interrupt. Oh, don't be sorry. Hey, Robert V. Everybody jumps in here. And Betty, you're absolutely welcome. 99 and 9/10% of us treat each other. There is that one odd one once in a while, but we try to treat each other with respect. As long as you give respect, we will give you respect right back. And but anyway, um, we love you to have come in and hang out with us. Hey, Robert V, I was wondering if you was doing okay. Dark Truth, how are you? But so there are times like Betty's in here tonight for whatever reason. And Mossy Man, how are you? Doug? The idea that sometimes people say, well, I don't know why I'm doing this. It might just be the universe telling you that it's time. So people say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Well, the universe, and everybody's different. It's like when it's time for me to do something, it may not be the same time for you to do something. So, and there are sometimes like Robert V and I have come up um, that that there are times when there is a synchronicity you just can't explain. And that's what I've talked about, I think, in my last video, when, the synchronicity with, that when we all get here and kind of hang out. Deborah Project, Betty, got in church and blah, blah, blah. No, no accepted much anywhere, black sheep, etc. I got you. So, but anyway, so in picking mulberries and having my hands turn blue from the mulberries, and one of the little ones was here today. One of my great grandchildren. They're not mine, but through people that I know, it's their children and grandchildren. So, little one was here today playing with Duggar. She misses her dog, and she's going to be 4 in a couple of days. And she goes, "I don't want to turn 4. I'm going to stay 3." And I'm like, "What? I don't want to turn 4. I'm not going to turn 4." And I said, "Well, honey, no offense, but you kind of sort of already are. But I'll tell you what, we'll give you 3 days because you want to be 3." And she goes, "I just don't want to turn 4." And I was like, and they were all sitting around going, "Yeah, here's this 3 and almost 4 years old." And she goes, "I just don't want to turn 4. Now, I don't know. I just don't want to turn 4. Hey, Cherry, how are you? But anyway, Gaza, how are you? In here for, I know there, a little bit of lag in there going on. I'm just in here for a little bit. This is not going to be a 4-hour long video. But I just sort of, when the mulberries are ready and the blackberries are ready, and when the fruit is ready, and that fruit is the fruit from the universe. And sometimes you will be given the opportunity to accept fruit from the universe, but it may very well be an inconvenient time. So it's like right now, and I'm using the mulberries, but the thing is though, but it's true. I've meditated on this over the last couple of days picking mulberries, but the idea though that when things are ready in the universe, it's time. When it's time, it's time. When the fruit is ripe, you got to pick it. If you wait tomorrow, the next day, it's going to be gone, or it'll fall down, or it's no good. So, and sometimes there are opportunities in our lives, spiritual, mental, you name it. It ain't all just about um, mulberries or fruit in itself. But when it's time, it's time. That I kept going through the, well, I tried to predict a week ago, 2 weeks ago, if all these mulberries were going to be ready. And I was like, well, they'll be ready in a week. Well, a week went by. And then another, now it's been 2 weeks. Now I've been picking mulberries. Most of them have been red, but to the point though, when I thought it was going to be time, it wasn't time. So we can try to predict, we can try to interject our own feelings in when this time in the universe is, well, it's my time. It might not be. You may absolutely, and you got to be honest. At the moment you think you're right, I know I thought I was right a bunch of times, and I keep learning. But that's why I am a shaman in training. And we all are. We're all seeking that spiritualness about ourselves. But sometimes these things come to us when we least expect it. We can look on the tree of life and go, well, I can see it. I am. I'm on the tree and my fruit's going to be ripe. And you may be standing there for a while going, well, I thought the fruit was going to be ripe. That's me thinking about the mulberries 2 weeks ago. Okay. And so there's still a couple more days that I can go out and pick mulberries. But I've already got 3 big, gallon bags full. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with them, but that's not the point. When it's time, it's time. It's not for me right at the moment to figure out what I'm going to do with the mulberries, but it's time to pick them. I can decide later, you know? So there are times when we receive things from the universe without expecting it. We look around and we say, well, and maybe there's something, it's time. Now, I know for myself, as much as I didn't want to do a couple of things that I did today, I ended up doing them and everything was fine. I was a little grumpy for a few minutes, but I got over that. Hey, Ed, how are you? Cherry, Gaza, Robert V. But anyway, but so when we look at the universe, there are times when I was given this little thought today that it was like, the expression, you can't see the forest for the trees. And it came back to me that you can't see the trees for the forest. You can't see the forest for the trees, and you can't see the trees for the forest, because inside the forest is another forest. And I use that as I'm walking up the hill, and there are different microclimates on different sections of the hill, how far up you go. And so the idea that in life there are microclimates, micro things going on, like those of us here in the chat, we're a microcosm of people that get together and we share these energies with each other and with the universe. So we're a microcosm in a way, like in just, the different plants on the different levels in mountains, on my hill, and there are microclimates all over the place. And in those microclimates, it's a microcosm, because what lives in that little climate doesn't live necessarily anywhere else. It's only peculiar to that little climate, that little territory. There might be certain bugs and relationships and things. Now, those bugs might exist somewhere else, but it's the number, how many are there, how they work or don't work together. I mean, so the microclimate also has a microcosmic little entity there. There's this little world, and so the world is covered, for every person, there's at least several, microclimates, cosmic thingies, little areas, little corners behind the house, a little space under a bush. I mean, there are all these little areas, but they're all connected. Okay. And so my point into this about, well, what's this got to do about time? If it's time, it's time. Well, because you might be drawn to a microclimate, a microcosmic little whatever, like us hanging out here, so in that, it may be the moment that you need it, There's been many times when people show up here, and I'm blessed to be here, in that, and humbled much greatly. But that, that it's necessary, that we share and that we open up, and the microcosmic climate, if you will, it's not just about me, it's about other people. So if you're drawn to something, it may be that there is a message in it. Now, I say message because there are people who are being drawn to places and to things and all that kind of stuff. It's all about numbers, oh, come here and visit with me. Oh, come over here. I'm the, me. It took me, 7, 8, 9 years to get to, 500 subscribers. And I'm blessed that you all are here. But the idea, though, that it's about the numbers, no, it's about the people who show up. It's about the people who share, and you all share with each other. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. Gaza, I'm not keeping up. So anyway. Yeah, sometimes there are things in the universe that are just trying to get your attention, and for whatever that reason is. So, but, and you can wish for things to happen, and you can put your brain out there and you can try to create that which has not been created yet. But sometimes the universe has its own plan. And so it's like, it's not that we have to just blindly follow behind without any kind of planning. That's just, the universe doesn't want that. Bedtime for Bonzo, absolutely. And when it's time is time, when I had, was raising kids and taking care of them, when it was time for them to go to bed, it was time for them to go to bed. But daddy, but and it's time. Do you see my arm? It says a freckle past a hair, Eastern elbow time, and it says you're going to bed. It's your, and it's time, right? So, but that's just another one of those. Yeah, Robert V, that is right. I absolutely agree. Yeah, strange things happen, but and I'm not trying to discount it. I don't know enough about what's going on in the chat to make a comment. So, but anyway, but here's the thing. There seems to be little blips in time. And I looked at the Schumann resonance before I checked in today. Now, yesterday, I would not lift the lid on the computer. They were like saying, don't. So I spent some time out with the dog and we collected this and that. And I've been collecting garbage, cleaning up the place. And so those kinds of things, which at the moment seem, it's the spirits telling me it's time. I've got wood that I cut up for the winter time and it's laying in my yard, and it's time to pick it up and store it. There are certain things it's time for, like picking the mulberries and the blueberries, and it's time. And sometimes you just have to accept it. Now, also with that, I have 5 new family members, 5 new kitty cats out there in the yard. 3 from the older mama kitty and 2 from the younger, but 5 new kittens. And we're spending some time with them and feeding them, and they're coming out from underneath things and being a part of the community, if you will. And Duggar's just like, he's wagging his tail and wants to pick up every one of them, I think, and play. But that part's really cute. But, and see, the cats didn't come out until it was time. The the mulberries aren't ripe until it's time. The blueberries aren't ripe until it's time. I mean, as much as I want to wish for these dead gum certain blueberries to fill out, it ain't time yet. So all my wishing and, oh well, I hope you. But when it is time, we have to be ready for that moment, and that's what's important. So. So in life and in things, just, hey, Delaney, how are you? Been picking blueberries. Mulberries. Had my hands were literally, blue yesterday from picking mulberries. And I was thinking about you too, Delaney, and all y'all actually. But I was like, Miss Pearl's out there. I'm gonna have to find me a recipe for, some kind of like a cobbler. My friends who were here today, I was like, been thinking about what I could do with this, and the only thing I can think of is to like do a cobbler. Do it instead of a blackberry cobbler, have it be a mulberry cobbler. So, but anyway, I was thinking about you. Hey, Julianne, how are you? How are we doing with time? I want to quit at 10 o'clock because other people are going to be on. And I just wanted to get on here and say hello to everybody. Oh, Jeff Allen, how are you? I kept seeing a name and I was like, who dat? But welcome, greetings, blessings from the universe. So, but anyway, and this is not supposed to be a long conversation, but think of this in your daily routine. There could be very easily some unexpected things come up. And I don't mean tragic things. I just mean unexpected. And it could be some things like you can see the fruit ripening on the tree. And, somebody's got some plums and they say, hey, when the plums are ripe, come get some, And it was like my friends today. I said, get some of these mulberries. I can't, I'm trying to get them all, and I got enough. So, and especially why not share, right? But, in a couple of days, some of these berries just ain't going to be there. They're going to be on the ground or whatever. And if we get rain and it knocks them off, and, so if you want the best berries, now's the time. So in life, sometimes you can maybe see fruit of your labors, whatever they may be. You've been working on a project or something, and then it may be that it's just like, well, it's time to do this, or it's time to, whatever it is, right? It's time to publish something maybe you had thought about. It's time to do something else. Whatever it is, it's time to ask somebody out. It's, whatever it might be that it's time for. So in doing the card readings and stuff the other night, it was kind of replaying some of it back in my mind, in that, like squirrel, the whole message of squirrel is to be prepared. So it's not that we have anything ready for every single circumstance that comes up in our life, but we should be ready to have a bag ready to pick the mulberries when they're ripe. You know what I mean? So make room in our hearts. If we've got too much trash in our heads and too many things that we're bringing forward into tomorrow, when we really ought to be leaving it at the end of the row. I've talked about over the years, I haven't mentioned this recently, but down here in the South where there's a lot of cotton, still is. And back in the days of the old cotton days, I remember my father-in-law, who used to pick cotton by hand, him and the Negroes in his neighborhood. They were sharecroppers way back in the 20s and 30s. And because he was like 92 when he died, and this has been like 15, 20 years ago. So, they figured he might have even been born in the 1800s, but anyway. So he saw a lot of things, and he was like, yeah, and he goes, we had to pick cotton by hand. And some of my wife at the time was like, yeah, I remember Daddy pulling me down the row and me sitting on the bag where he put the cotton. And so that would have put it back in the 50s and early 60s. They were still picking cotton by hand down here. Okay. But the idea though, that, for somebody who's picking something, you dump the bag at the end of the row. You don't turn them and make another row and then head back across the field. That is what it is about life. If you've got something you've been toting for a long time and you don't really need it, as the cards have said before, if it doesn't, if it doesn't, grow corn, then it's maybe time to get rid of it. I threw some things away yesterday, the other day. I was like, I've had around, and I was just like, it's time. It's just time to throw that some gun away. It's time to get rid of it because there is no purpose there, and it's time. And the garbage runs tomorrow. So this evening, I'm going to go back outside and round up some other stuff, take up to the garbage because it's time, and tomorrow is garbage day. But so in life, understand you cannot be prepared for everything, but you can be prepared in your heart for stuff. And it may be in order to accept something new, it's time to release something old. That's it. That's the big message for today, right? Hey, Chloe. And I know it's getting on to 10 o'clock. And okay, we got 10 more minutes anyway. David Castle, Chloe, Betty Ann. Betty, we accept all kinds. I mean, I have lost my computer skills and am still trying to find them. So, Betty, regardless of your skills, we still love you. Y'all accept me in my present condition, But I do try to get better every day. Every day is a challenge. Whoa, there's some Duggar. Somebody's outside. He wants to go back out. It's daylight till 10 o'clock now. Not quite down here, but yeah, everybody give a if you haven't already, because I haven't been watching the chat. Give Betty a big hug. So for those of you who missed earlier, it's 4:20 in my head, and I just wanted to share. But remember though that to everything there is a season. Turn, right? And to every anyway, but in that, if we think that tomorrow is going to be the same as today, it's not. Okay. Every day is going to be different at some point, at some time. The sun's going to be in a different place. There's going to be clouds or no clouds. It's going to rain. It'll snow. It won't snow. Every day is going to be different, no matter how much you think they're all the same. So you can sit and go, I'm so bored and blah, 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 but the seasons are changing while you're sitting there looking out the window. I say that because that's what I do. I look out the window. It's too hot outside. I can't do heat for long periods, but so we go in and out, in and out, in and out. So the whole point, though, of it is to adapt. All right. You cannot be prepared for everything, and don't try to be, but you can be adaptable and learn how to adapt to situations. And you can make room in your heart for those things that you may need to collect now, like squirrel. For whatever reason, squirrel been really on my brain ever since I pulled that card the other day. Yes, Elderberry. Cheers, everyone. Flexible. Yeah. And it could be that like today, some folks showed up and they call me, and then they were like coming down the driveway going, we're here. And I was like, but give me a few minutes and I was over that. But at the time I was a little aggravated. It takes y'all an hour to get here. You could have called and just said, we're coming today. Okay. Not a problem, but so anyway, no, it didn't tick me off. It was just like, a little extra warning, I'm in my underwear and would like to put on a pair of pants. I mean, just, be presentable. Anyway, but so in that though, I've learned just to, be flexible, 5 minutes of irritation was over with, where I could have been grumpy all day. And I said no to that. But so we look at that. Sometimes there are inconveniences which show up spiritually, mentally, physically, all of the above. But what is really important at the end of the day is, did you get over the bumps and the humps without just literally ripping your hair out and screaming at somebody, unless they seriously need to be screamed at, which is another story. But we learn to adapt, keep it in our hearts. We keep what we need. And for God's sakes, if this mental picture of cotton pickers and great big sacks of cotton, when you get to the end of the row, you don't want to take one of them big sacks and drag it and keep filling it back down that same row. You want to dump that sucker. So with your emotions, with ills, pains, whatever it is, dump your sack at the end of the row. And that gives you room for everything else that you may pick in your life. Okay. So, for all you cotton picking, cotton pickers out there, you cotton pickers, I'm going to leave you all here with, what time is it? Tuesday. It's 9:51. Yeah, I agree with you, Doug. Put stuff in pots. And potted plants are easy to care for anyway. You can put containers under them with water so that they can stay watered for more. Just saying. But yeah. Let me give you all a little tip before I go this evening. Milk jugs. The answer is milk jugs. If you got a pot that, unless it's a big pot, but like a 1 gallon, 2 gallons, even up to a 3 gallon pot, depending on how big it is at the base. I did a whole year one time where I cut the bottoms out of the bottom of milk jugs, and you can put the pot in there. Okay. Don't worry about the holes, because there's a little ridge down the bottom of most milk jugs, okay, that will keep it from sitting on the bottom. And it will keep bugs from crawling up through the bottom as well. So for me, a lot of pots have those little trays underneath them. Well, if you don't have trays, but you got pots, then cut the bottom out of a milk jug and put that sucker down in it. And you can overfill it and see the water come up in the bottom of the milk jug. But it's not enough to flood it, because the plant will suck it up from the bottom, and you're reusing, milk jugs and doing something. But I did a whole more than one season. I still use milk jugs for underneath my pots. So, but anyway, and you can cut them to the depth you need. But anyway. Yes, Doug. Garlic and onions get root rot if too wet. But garlic and onions will damn near grow anywhere. But the thing is that if you establish a watering period of like every 3 days, so you overfill it so you can see the water in the bottom of the milk jug. I like the milk jugs because you can see where the water line is. You don't water it the next day. You may not water it the third day. So every 3 days you can water your plant, but it will still have sufficient enough water in there, and it won't get root rot. And also, if you got onions and garlics in a pot, then you don't give them quite as much water. You just don't, So they get watered every, not as often as everything else. So, and how you maintain it. But so it's your understanding about the plants as well. But anyway, I got a plethora of pots and totes and stuff. Yeah. I've got garlic all over the place. That I started out a small patch, and every year I'll dig up some and put it at the end of the row, and I'll put some down here. I got garlic all over my place now. Let me tell you also, since we're on the garlic subject, as the garlic is growing, if you want fresh garlic, take a pair of scissors or a sharp knife. Be nice to the plant. But as the garlic comes up, because I got all these tops of the garlic, don't let them go to waste, because they'll die off and fall down. So if you see a little yellow tip on the end of it, cut it ahead of time. It will keep the garlic healthier. If you're going to wait for the garlic to become a bulb, you're wasting your time, because there's all this garlic with all these tops. Same thing with the onions. Onion tops and garlic tops are like chives to me. So instead of worrying about, if I want garlic, fresh garlic, well, I also buy some in a thing, but take one leaf off of this one and a leaf off of this one, one of the big tall ones, and leave the rest. And you can chop it up real fine. Sometimes you can add it with a little bit of oil. I buy chopped garlic in oil already from the dollar store, but what I have done is taken onion and garlic and chopped it up with some oil and put it back in one of those, minced onion. Minced garlic in a jar. So, but the thing is that if you want it fresh, you don't have to wait until it's done on the bottom, and don't pick from the same one. And always thank when you say thank you. I need some fresh garlic. Thank you. And cut it. Pair of scissors, sharp knife, and and only take what you need. But anyway, and it's also that garlic right there is from the top, which has nutrients in it that the root doesn't necessarily have. Also, it's fresher. It's like primed. So, but anyway, that's my 10 cents on garlic, and onion is the same way. Yeah, they start growing right. I mean, because I don't dig up the bulbs unless it's to move. They've gotten too thick in one area. They'll make little babies come up. That's why you shouldn't dig up the bulbs, because they'll make more. And then you separate them, and then they become wild in your garden. But as far as waiting until the root is done. For gosh sakes, don't miss out on the freshness of the tips and the medicinal value that fresh garlic in the tops, in the green part. Just think about that. And that's in a lot of other things too. So just saying. Yes, bulbs spread out from the root. Absolutely. Hey, Ian. Yeah, at some point, I don't know about the carrots, but when my study with medicinal plants, and there's a lot of things that, I've been picking mulberries, so it's like it kind of sidetracked me from going and looking on other places, but which is okay. When it's time, it's time. But in the medicinal area, you always want to, if it's a tree or a spray, you always want to pick a sprout. You don't go down the limb and pick an old leaf, unless that's all you can find. But for example, a lot of people, it's used for different things, but there have been times when I was off doing puppet shows and things and at powwows, and I'd just get an upset stomach from whatever reason and couldn't go to a store. There wasn't anything. But I could always find blackberry bushes somewhere. And especially if you ask the blackberry bush, I mean, even in the wintertime around here, now I don't get snow, but there are leaves on some of the blackberries. So there's always this medicine, but take a leaf or two and chew it up and swallow it. And for me, it has helped out many a time for an upset stomach. Now, it's supposed to help women with their menstrual. I'm not a woman, so I just don't know that. But and let me tell you about fertilizer. Use very little fertilizer and use like a 10-10-10. If you don't know what to use, just use a 10-10-10. Once a week at most, and I mean very little. If you have city water and there's chlorine in it, then you must get a couple of gallons and let it sit out with the lid off, okay? Or collect rainwater or something, if you got a well, okie doke. But if you've got city water, you must let the chlorine escape before you use it. It will change the fertilizer into something else because of the chlorine. So, but anyway, I should do a show on certain things like that, like ask questions about Um, but you know, I haven't added fertilizer to my water in literally years. And I got a plant here, and I got plants in the window down there, and it's a vine that grows up and over and around the windows. I just have let it go. When you come in my back door, there's plants that, you know, there's a vine that grows overhead. There's a palm tree in the corner. There's, you know, and I have can't remember when I fertilized them, but I also have a lot of minerals in my well water because it's hand dug. But to that point, though, um, I think I've killed plants over the years because I would add fertilizer and they just didn't seem like we're doing well, you know. But anyway, so if you can find natural water, a natural stream, a natural something, and if you got city water, then I mean, years ago we knew about this, that if you had city water, like if you don't put fresh city water into a fish bowl. When you clean out a tank, that water should sit, you know, to make sure there's no chlorine in it, or you'll kill the shit out of your fish, right? They do not like it. But anybody that's had aquariums that should kind of understand that. But the same is true with fertilizers and your plants and that kind of thing. What kind of water you got is very important. You can buy a gallon of just plain drinking water from Walmart or whatever. I would rather do that. But because you can open it up and it doesn't smell like chlorine. Okay. Still, the best way to do it is to just leave the container open. The chlorine will evaporate on its own, especially if you sit you know, just get a milk jug, and if you've got city water with chlorine, just put it in the sunshine with the lid off. It'll evaporate the chlorine really quick. So, and much better anyway. Um, so you're welcome, Betty. Anytime, come back and hang out with us. Ginger is very easy to grow once you got the warm environment. Yep, I'm trying to grow ginger, but I haven't given it enough attention, guys, and that's shame on me. It has nothing to do with the ginger. Um, yeah, 24 hours, and depending on the chlorine, it might be more than that, Chloe. Just for my 2 cents about that, because around in Moultrie area, there were some times where they added extra chlorine to the system, and yeah, it was just like, oh my God, you'd turn on the shower and I couldn't even be in the tub enclosure. I'd have to wait. And 2 days later, you could barely smell the chlorine in the same shower. Okay, just saying. So the level of chlorine in municipal water thingies changes, and so it changes daily, so it's not the same every day. But anyway, but the good thing is, like you, Chloe, put some water in whatever you need in a couple gallon jugs and let it sit in the sun for a couple days, just let it evaporate. There's a lot of stuff that will get out of it like that. In fact, one of these days they've been nagging me about this, to teach about solar solar distills that are so easy to build and can get you out of a situation, muddy water, bad water, whatever, and give you distilled water that is safe to drink. So, and the materials are simple. So anyway, should have that conversation, I suppose. But anyway, I promised to get off of here around 10 o'clock because I know other people get on here and I didn't want to, impose, So Gaza, Michelle, Robert V, Chloe, all y'all up the list and down the list. Thank you so much. And, we'll see if I'm on later on tonight or not. But, tomorrow is Tuesday and trash day. So I want to get some stuff, up there to the top of the driveway. But I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. We all have to say thank you, Bob. We know that there's some blips going on. But we want to say thank you, Bob. Thank you for the coffee. Thank you all for coming. I continue to pray each day when I put my 2 feet on the ground that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And in that law of 3, which is so important to me, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept, receive, and the big E is in number 3 is to share the wisdom, the knowledge, the healing, and the blessings from the universe. So it is between us and all y'all that we are making the difference. And I'm proud of every single one of you for hanging out and for trying and for allowing extra things to come into your heart, for allowing yourself to take the time, because when it's time, it's time. You know, and who was it back in the day that, anyway, we'll drink no wine before it's time. Remember that for some of you all. I can't think of his name. I could see his face, and he got extremely, over zealous with the food in his later life. But anyway, um, yeah, sending love out to everybody. Miss Better, you don't have to be shy, but if you want to be shy, that's okay too. It's not necessary for anyone to jump in. See, but tonight you thought you would jump in, so maybe tonight was your time. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, there are lots of events in our lifetimes that present themselves to us. And sometimes we don't know why, but it may just be time for at that time. You know, I mean, it might not be the same later on down the road. We don't know. But if we allow our hearts to be open enough to maybe, it's at least worth some of my time, maybe not all of your time. You know what I mean? But anyway, I love you all. I could keep on, running around the word time, but I know other people come on at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to, bow out of here. I love you all very much. Be safe. Be kind to each other. Keep up. Paul Joe. Yeah, good to hear from you too. So everybody continue to be safe. And I know I sort of promised doing some card readings. I haven't given up on that, but it was sort of time for me to do something else, just like, pick mulberries and stuff. So, get my garbage up. Oh, you're in Southwest Georgia? Oh, I think I remember that, but I forgot. I knew somebody lived in Southwest Georgia. Yeah, I'm on Zion Grove Church Road, just off the Lower Meigs Road is where I'm located. So, yeah, down here in Southwest Georgia. I love chatting with y'all too. So, y'all keep it between the ditches, and it's 10:09. Have a bowl, share with each other. I know there's other folks that are on now, and so let me bow out gracefully. And having had a chance to be with y'all this evening, so cheers everybody. And Betty Ann Adams, I'm in the phone book too if you're local, So, but anyway, love to you all. Be safe. Honestly, be safe. And TTFN, cheers from South Georgia, and y'all be safe.